Hello and welcome to the Poorhammer Podcast, episode 149. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And we have a wonderful episode for our first episode after a nice little holiday break. We are returning to building better combat patrols, because it turns out it's been like 7 months since we've done one of these.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, and especially because they're fun.
I swore we had done one more than we did.
But I guess, we're back to it.
So, I guess for a little further ado, just real quick, we've got merch at Orchid 8. Also, for patrons, if you somehow missed our like 40 different shoutouts for it, there's a whole bunch of bonus content for our patron audience out there. You can go watch it. Also, as a weird thing for the month of January, we're gonna do some live streams and try that to see if it's, fun at all. We did a couple over the holidays. They didn't turn out horribly. We're doing them both on YouTube and on Twitch, which is just Poorhammer on Twitch. We'll put a link to that as well if you want to follow us on there. But yeah, so that's all the news stuff. Just shotgunned out there as quick as I can. Let's get into this.
Sounds good.
All right, with everything else out of the way, it is time for us to do some surgery. As a very quick version of the rules, this is the third time we're doing this. We've done quite a few of the factions, but to real quickly go over it. It's all got to fit in a box, so you can't spam 500 of, sprues that will never fit into a box to put on sale. The models have to currently exist. We can't wish for things that don't exist. It has to be a balanced box. It's something that's targeting a first army. Though we've gotten into talking about doing themed versions and sales pitches for that, but that's for later in the episode. You want to target at least 500 points so that it's a solid investment, and you're looking to not do more than 40% off MSRP, because again, we're playing Games Workshop today. We want to make a profit. We don't want to give everyone everything for free. So based on what they do, 40% seems to be the upper limit. They do break it on rare occasion, so if we go over on one, not too bad.
And so on the balanced box part kind of thing, we want 4 types of units, probably a battle line, so that you have an actual balanced box as opposed to extremely skewed one-dimensional kind of thing. And if it's properly balanced, there's an expectation that it would be good in multiples, so you could buy a couple of these and be well on your way to fielding a 2K army.
Yeah, other than maybe a useless character after you've got 2 copies of a generic character. Ideally, we want to avoid named characters because you can only have one of them, so it devalues buying it again, losing GW another sale, and being a worse value for us.
Yeah, it's one of those, if we get something at 40% off with a named character, the second one is not going to be 40% off. It's going to be more 28, 30%. But those are the general rules that we've been trying to follow.
As for what we're doing today, well, I know Guard's kind of a hot topic because their new combat patrol does not look very good. And in our first episode, we came up with a way better looking version. It's a shame that wasn't reality.
No, again, GW, if you're listening, these are free. Go for it.
Please make these.
Yeah.
We're also still going to kick AdMech a little further down the road. Just one more episode. I swear, next time, guys, we'll fix AdMech any day now.
Yeah, this one actually might be true, other than the whole discount and 500 points and balanced and all of those things. But AdMech might be fixed because of teasers.
We will find out in the coming weeks. For right now, though, we have 2 different Space Marine ones that we cooked up, variant ones, Deathwatch and Dark Angels, and we've got something for Chaos and Xenos, including, we're going to end with our guesses for Eldar, well, our hopes more than guesses. I don't think either of us are going to be right. It's going to be more depressing in real life.
I feel like I tried a little bit more to be mildly realistic. As what we could get.
Yeah, but we can just call it our hopes for what the Aeldari version of a combat patrol comes out looking like.
Yeah, because it should just be at the time of our recording, it should just be a month away.
Yeah, we'll find out when it comes out. So, who wants to start off, Eric? You or me?
I'm interested to hear your takes on Deathwatch. We'll start strong.
Oh boy. All right. Eric knows the strong opinions I've developed.
There were some rants as you were going through this.
I became radicalized over the course of putting this list together.
Yeah, it was about right.
I am now a strong proponent of whoever wrote the Deathwatch Index. Just as a GW employee in charge of making a Deathwatch combat patrol that makes sense and that people would want to buy, I now believe that the other GW employee in this hypothetical world who made the Deathwatch Index needs to have their spleen removed without anesthetic as punishment for this travesty of an index. How can you not count to 5? This army is an army of hot dog buns. We sell them in 5s, but you cannot run them in 5s.
No, it's 4s, maybe 2.
There's some 3s.
There's some 3s. We're just trying all the numbers, man.
The point is, no matter what the manufacturing guys are capable of printing, it isn't that. So this army just should not exist as it stands.
I mean, that's ignoring the entire way that it was like patched on, even more so than the other special chapter type stuff. Like, nah, Deathwatch, you were supposed to go away with Imperial agents very clearly. But you came up with something.
I barely came up with something. So I'm going to take you through the journey of what a disaster this was. I talked about last time how bad making Thousand Suns is because you can't split rubrics into 5s. You can only get 10 or 0.
Yeah.
This is that, but like even worse. Because one of the things when GW is looking at making box sets is trying to make it where you can't build something wrong. Ideally, your box set is targeting a new player who doesn't know what they're doing and will screw up literally everything possible.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are occasions where it's like, yeah, if you make this loadout, it's probably not the best, but it's still a valid, playable loadout. That's fine. Not valid loadouts, not valid lists, less fine. There was a Death Guard thing there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that's why combat patrols work the way they do.
Yeah. So, all right, let's be honest. Kill team kits are complicated. So
they're not kits. Kill teams are a data sheet. Kits are what normal people play with.
All right.
You buy a kit off the shelf and that's your unit.
Yeah.
This is just magical. So I started off and I was like, okay, clearly I want something for this to be Deathwatch exclusive. I'll start with a Watchmaster. So I want something for the Watchmaster to lead. Well, it can lead Deathwatch veterans, which I don't want to put into this because they're old Marines, and spoilers, if you can even read the actual like Deathwatch detachment rule, it flat out bans every old Marine in existence. Yeah, don't buy old Marines right now. So I didn't want to include veterans.
You do hate old Marines more than you probably should, but yeah, there are like valid reasons in Deathwatch specifically. But what was the other option?
The other thing you can lead is a Fortis kill team, which is just using Primaris era kits to make a kill team.
Okay. Seems like a good start.
Yeah, and to show off how cool it is that Deathwatch kill teams are like complicated and can have multiple types of units in there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a Fortis kill team, and I'll just do 5 normal intercessors, and I'll do like 5 of the Infernus Marines, because they're cheap new ones. They're not really of high value to GW, because they're like the overprinted thing this edition, but it will look cool to a new player.
Yeah, they're definitely a cool model. And that's another thing. It's not technically in our rules, but like the box has to look cool, right? Like we're trying to sell something, the box art has to be cool.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the bad ones that exist, and no one's excited by the current Blood Angels one being literally 2 units and a character.
So bland.
You want to avoid a boring looking cover image, right?
Yeah.
So you want something a little interesting with this Fortis kill team. It's a very generic Space Marine thing, but like we want at least 2 things in here.
Those have some flair to it. It's not literally just the most basic, but okay.
Yeah. So the plan was easy. I'll do 5 intercessors and 5 Infernus Marines because both of them are split up on their sprues in a way where you can do 5 of each. In fact, in the current terrible Dark Angels Combat Patrol, they do 5 intercessors and 5 Hellblasters, which would be a different way to go for this Fortis kill team. However,
it seems like a great plan.
this is where things go wrong. So a Fortis kill team has the terrible instructions of you need to make 10 models out of this. You can do 1 sergeant, 2 to 9 normal intercessors.
All right, so you could have just the most basic, here's a sergeant and intercessors.
Yeah, 10 intercessors counts as a Fortis kill team.
Fair. boring, not what we want, but a fine default start.
You can have 0 to 4 Plasma Incinerator Intercessors, which is Hellblasters. They get named stupid in this.
Okay.
You can have 0 to 4 Heavy Bolt Pistol Intercessors, which is Assault Intercessors. Again, everything has a stupid name in Deathwatch. I can't explain it. You can have 0 to 4 Pyre Blaster Intercessors and 0 to 2 Rocket Launcher Intercessors, which is the Dominators, whatever they're called, the Rocket Boys.
The Devastators.
No, they're Desolators. Devastators is the old school one.
That's all the fucking same.
Yeah, no one cares. Made up bullshit names. Welcome to Space Marines.
But okay, so like only 2 of the rocket launchers isn't terrible. Like it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. No one cares about that one. So I try to build Pyre Blasters and Intercessors. I have 5 Intercessors, but I have 5 Pyre Blasters. And I can only put 4 in this. So clearly, the Sergeant should be a Pyre Blaster Sergeant, and we're good.
Yeah, right, because that's why it's 0 to 4, is because you got the plus the Sergeant, right? Right?
That would be great, wouldn't it? That would make sense.
It would, yeah. That's how most things generally line up.
The Sergeant has to be a generic Intercessor Sergeant.
There isn't one of those like, oh, it can be...
No, he cannot be from any of the other teams. You are always wasting models building this. There is never a way where I can manufacture the correct number of models to make this kill team, to put into a box set to sell this stupid army.
That's wild that the Sergeant doesn't have, you can replace his default weapon as a Pyre Blaster or a Plasma Incinerator, right? Like, that's obviously how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, so I was pretty fuming at this point as I realized that there's no way I can make a Fortis kill team work in this. Unless I just want to do 10 Intercessors.
Yeah, or you buy an extra kit, essentially, and waste a bunch of models and also confuse people when they're building it, going, why do I have extra models? Where am I supposed to put them? I have extra bits, right? Like, where does the screw go? Oh, no.
Yeah, so now we're stuck with, I have an extra model. So I was like, okay, we'll get rid of this. Delete all this. Try again.
Yeah, there's a couple other kill team options.
Instead of going for this and the Watchmaster, let's just go for the Indominator kill team. Because I was looking at that, and it looks like it lets me run the correct amount of Melta guys or Power Fist guys, which is the aggressors, but they're called Power Fist intercessors in this.
Of course.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, we can do Eradicators, Aggressors, and Heavy Intercessors. We're going to be a big, bulky, cool, dominating, scary version of Deathwatch.
Yeah, the like serious mode kind of thing, like, oh, don't fuck with him kind of. Yeah, all right.
So there's a problem we'll get to. But first, I was like, all right, I'm like envisioning the art of Deathwatch and like wanting to get into this. I'm like, clearly they need a biologist. They need the like evil, the medic, but the pharmacist instead of the pharmacist, right?
All right, yeah.
And I was like, obviously that's what I want to do here is biologist leading an Indominator kill team as the centerpiece of this. It's gonna look scary.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that the biologist could lead them, but that's cool. That's a good box art.
Yeah, so then the problem became I went to look up the biologist and I realized he's on the Sternguard sprue.
He's not just like a separate that you can buy.
Nope, he doesn't have a standalone model. So threw that out the window. I was like, fine, I'll just put a generic captain and be boring. We're having a captain and we're done.
I mean, you didn't just want to be like, oh yeah, we'll just get a Sternguard sprue in there. It'll be fine.
So we go with the captain and an Indominator kill team with one of each, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can have 0 to 3 heavy intercessors with Power Fist, 0 to 3 heavy intercessors with Melta rifles, and my 3 to 10 kill team heavy intercessors. So I can clearly just run these 11 models in a unit and just put one of each of these kits in here and it will fit perfectly.
I mean, yeah, that's how that would work, but I mean, that's not how it worked for the Fortis kill team, essentially, so...
You are correct. You are capped at 10 models, even though this one number-wise allows you to build this kill team in a normal way.
That's fantastic. I kind of understand why they have it capped at 10 models of, like, it's 0 to 3 of these things, and then 3 to 10, so you'd have 13.
No, that doesn't make sense. The 10 models would make sense if everything was as 5s and 10s. 11 models make sense if I can have 3 to 10 of one as my filler, and then 0 to 3 of 2 others. So I've got 6 of them, and then throw the heavy intercessor unit on as attacks.
Yeah, the normal 5.
It's an 11 model unit.
That would make sense. Yeah. But no, 10 max.
So anyway, at this point, I was frustrated and gave up. And I said, fine, we're doing the Indominator kill team. We're going to put in one of each of them, and you just have one too many heavy intercessors. Little Jimmy's got to figure it out. He's a Space Marine player. He'll probably eat it anyway. And we're going to lead it with a Captain in Gravis armor, because trying to get clever only punishes you when you try to build a Space Marine box.
Kinda. Alright, so like, we've got Captain in Gravis armor and the Indominator kill team, but what else? One, there has to be more, because as cool as that is, it's a fine box art. There needs to be more, and two, that's what, like 300 points? 320?
Yeah, something like. So I just added the veterans after all, because I was just mad at this point. I truly despise this army as a faction. This needs a ground-up rework. Stop selling literally every single model in Deathwatch and figure it out and relaunch it.
Yeah.
Do it right. This army should not exist. Every one of these models should be thrown into the trash can, and we can just start over with a proper launch.
Which doesn't seem insane to do.
You can keep the Corvus Blackstar.
I mean, you have to keep the Corvus Blackstar.
I know, it's like the only thing Deathwatch has that looks good.
Oof.
And it only looks good compared to other Space Marine flyers.
I mean, Deathwatch is tough just because, like, kill teams are a problem with how 10th edition has tried to streamline stuff. The fact that it was solved in this manner is insane.
The problem is, before I started reading the index, in my head, I thought this index would be what we all imagined the codex would have as that extra little paragraph to fix Deathwatch, of if you choose the Deathwatch attachment in the codex, then you can just run Adeptus Astartes models in your Deathwatch army, and you can run it with the rest of your Imperial agents, and that's what makes Deathwatch special.
Yeah.
This index bans you from running all the Imperial agents. Like, I can't run my Inquisitor and all that stuff in my Deathwatch army to have a thematic Deathwatch army to play Deathwatch.
Yeah.
They just needed the codex to have the Deathwatch detachment allow you to run all of the Space Marines. That's all we needed. You didn't have to undo the ability to run the other agents in your Deathwatch army. The crossover is the point of this faction. That's all it does.
Yeah, that is weird, right? Thematically, that's the point.
It drives me up a wall how poorly done this army is. Like, I'm sorry if you're one of 4 Deathwatch players on Earth. I can't explain to you why anyone chose what they did with this faction. Anyway.
No, it is weird. Well, like, I think the original idea was Deathwatch is becoming a core pillar to Imperial agents, and, like, we'll flesh all that out and stuff like that. But then, like, that's not actually a real faction at the moment. They didn't flesh stuff out, and they just removed Deathwatch's, like, Space Marine aspect, which is just fucking weird.
Anyway, with all of my ranting about this terrible box set I came up with over, it is $272 of garbage. Also, you can have 2 free Deathwatch upgrade sprues, so we can get them out of the warehouses and then throw them out and make a proper Deathwatch release later. This is 38% off. And honestly, I still would recommend people to stay the hell away from it. I cannot design a Deathwatch box with the current state of Deathwatch that I would advise people to buy.
No. If you're trying to get into Deathwatch,
go look at Grey Knights.
It just needs a different index, formatting, rules, or you're just getting into it because they're cool models and, like, you're not worried about playing.
Okay, look, if you're looking into getting into Deathwatch, figure out why you like them. Do you like them because they're Space Marines painted black? If so, look into Iron Hands or look into Black Legion and go Chaos. It's cooler anyway. Do you like them because they're the Inquisition-y cool shoulder pad with a bunch of faux Latin garbage written on it? If so, go play Grey Knights. It's better. And it's still not in a great spot right now.
I kind of agree. Hopefully we'll get a refresh and they'll be even cooler though. But alright, so yeah, Deathwatch was kind of a fail.
This is the worst one of these we have done, and I apologize for how awful this army is.
Let's move on to Tau. I made something for Tau.
You made something for Tau?
Yes, Tau. So
Eric broke the percent off rule, but I agreed with him.
I did, and like technically there is a way to do it without, and I'll talk about it, but it's a lot more boring. So the current combat patrol is a commander, a devilfish, fire warriors, pathfinders, and then the drones and decals and all that other shit. Problematic in a couple ways.
The point is you can put your fire warriors into a devilfish without a leader, and you can stand your commander out in the open leading nothing. It's not a well-designed box.
It's not terrible.
It's pretty bad, though.
It looks kind of neat from like, the box art is like, oh, that, the devilfish is kind of neat, and there's a mech and like other dudes, but man, is it not fully fleshed out. Like it's not a balanced box because it doesn't do what 10th edition is trying to do, which is like lead stuff. It's insane.
It's a cool box before you open the rulebook.
Yeah.
We ideally want a cool box that is cool before you open the rulebook and is still cool after you open the rulebook.
That would be optimal, yeah. And one of the things that's always irritated me about Tau like combo boxes is the lack of crisis battle suits. Those are like a core part of the army as far as like the generic assumption of what Tau is. They're never included. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. That's where we're starting, okay?
Battle suits were at one point included in a box set. Back when Tau had a start collecting box in 8th edition.
Right.
It had crisis suits. The general advice from the Tau community is everything else in that box is free because the box costs the same as a crisis suit box, because crisis suits cost way too much money.
Yeah.
They were like $72 for 3 crisis suits, the equivalent of like a Terminator, remember this.
They're essentially like Tau's Terminator style, which given that it's been quite a while since they've been in box sets, I was like, I'm going to do that. I know this is going to be tough. I know that they're overpriced for dollar per point and stuff like that, but we can figure this out. At the same time, it was one of those like, let's learn from what the current combat patrol is doing and like, let's make sure there's leaders to stuff, which sounds insane, but maybe we can do that. And so we've got a commander. We can either have it as commander and Cold Star or enforcer, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Sure, it's the same box.
Yeah, we'll do it. I think Cold Star is the one that's more points, so it'll be better for selling it, right?
Okay.
But, okay, so I've got a commander that can lead our crisis battle suits. And then it was like, what else can we do? And I was trying to think things through, and broadside battle suits are actually pretty solid, priced, money, and they look cool. It's like, wow, this is going to be such a exciting box art kind of thing. Like we've got a lot of mech. And then it was like, okay, we need to actually flesh this out. We've got just like a bunch of mech units. What else can we do?
We need to hold a point with something.
Vespids are the answer to holding points.
They just got a new kill team set, so maybe GW wants to make sure to get that into some combo boxes.
Yeah, and I mean, they got an entire detachment that like talks about Vespids, which is wild because like it's one unit.
It's the brand new unit, you gotta sell it.
Yeah, so Vespids work really well to fill that like gap to this being a balanced box. With that all said, it was looking a little anemic. on points, and it also like if we were going to go with the new detachment and that was like a thing, they kind of want to work in combination with Kroot. That's what you do. So let's put some Kroot and actually take advantage of that detachment. I figured a Kroot Warshaper kind of makes sense to what we're trying to do.
Does he have anything to lead?
No. He's just gonna be a dude, man.
I'm iffy on this. You couldn't have done 3 of the guys riding the monkey things? I don't know my Kroot names, I'm sorry.
No, they're like $80 or something like that, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, they're like $62.
It's only just out of range because we had to waste so much on these crisis suits.
It's more than just out of range because we're already out of range with adding Kroot Warshaper. Altogether, this is going to be $309. That's a 45% discount. That's too much, but maybe.
I feel like you could do just normal Kroot Carnivores isn't that much more. Like if we're ignoring the fact that this is going to go over, it kind of has to just because, well, crisis suits.
Yeah. So one of the things with like the War Shaper is it can actually be on its own, and like it has melee stuff going on. So you can use it as a, like, I've been playing a bunch of Total War Warhammer 3. So, you know, it's one of those, like, you take your character out in front, it gets a bunch of hate, your enemy kills it with a bunch of their stuff, and you just shoot the enemy off the board. That's kind of where I'm thinking the Kroot War Shaper is trying to do its job. But I think the list, to be balanced, wants one Kroot unit to go with the Vespids and have both of those support this heavy mech style composition.
Sure. And again, you're building all of this around the Grotmist detachment. Like, that was your assumption going in. This is something to show off the new tri-arm detachment, whatever it was called.
Auxiliary cadre. And, you know, with hope that maybe there's some more Vespids that come out or something like that, that'd be neat. But yeah, if we were going to like just shoot the budget out of the water, one of the other like Kroot Carnivores, probably Kroot Rampagers, something like that would make more sense. But that's like, you know, another $20 over. And yeah, now you're over like more than half off, which GW's just not going to do.
Yeah. Again, though, like a lot of this is because Crisis Battle Suits is $84 for three.
And like the cheap version is 110 points, the expensive version is 150 points for $84.
Yeah, for the backbone of what this army is, like their core normal unit.
And like obviously there are people who enjoy the Kroot aspect, and there are people who enjoy, you know, the Hammerhead and like all that. Like that's great, but I think the common what Tau is the Crisis Battle Suit that immediately pops into head.
And even if you want to say, like, instead of Terminators, make them Aggressors, right? Where they're like the even bigger, bulkier boys. Aggressors are still only $60.
Yeah, it's wild.
We're shaving off $24. The Crisis Battle Suit kit is outrageously priced.
It really is. And it makes so difficult to do any of these realistically. And that's why GW hasn't released them in any of these combo boxes, is because almost certainly they have a similar, like, here's the price point that we internally say that you can make a combo box kind of thing. And the Crisis Battlesuit just ruins it. Or, you know, it makes it like, oh, here's your combat patrol and it's only 320 points. And it's not like fleshed out. You get like 5 units and like whatever. Technically, this list could be without the Kroot War Shaper. It's like $274, which is like 38% off. Perfectly reasonable. We're a bit anemic, down to like 460. And it's just like, it's going to play a lot worse. I don't think it looks worse box art wise, but it's going to be a lot more disappointing to like actually play as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know, I like where this list is, and if Crisis Battle Suits were a reasonable price, this would be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully they don't keep going up. I would like to see more Vespids, though.
Shall I pick up our moods as we move into the back half of this episode and we get to some really good lists that I'm, like, proud of?
Yeah, all right. What do you got next?
These, like, fell into place for me. So I wanted to do a demon one again.
Yeah. So last time you did Slaanesh.
Last time I talked about why I didn't do one that's all of demons at once, and why I went with Slaanesh over, like, Tzeentch, which is a problem child.
And obviously you were like, oh, Tzeentch is a problem child. I'll figure that one out this time. Right?
No, I was in a bad mood because of Deathwatch, so I went to Nurgle because it's easy.
All right, fair enough, man. Fair enough.
I had wasted like 5 hours of my life trying to make a Deathwatch combo box only to feel bad for some poor guy who had to do this for his day job. So anyway, demons. This kind of is silly. I got a fortification in my list.
Brilliant.
Feculent Gnarlmaw, the really upsetting looking tree that triggers a lot of people with that one phobia.
Yeah.
But that tree is a really good fortification as far as fortifications go. It's one of the only ones that's ever been arguable.
Sure.
It's 100 points, so it's too much to actually be arguable in my opinion, but it's cool at least casually. It feels cool for Nurgle to have, like, I'm going to add some gross growing stuff to the field.
Thematically, yeah.
This feels Nurgle-y. I'm okay with it.
I do have some concerns about, like, fortifications feeling kind of like, you know, epic heroes on, like, the duplicates, but...
Sir, you don't remember when it only worked when you bought 3 of them. Because Nurgle.
Yeah.
3 is a funny number. Anyway, so currently, a Feculent Gnarlmaw is a pretty interesting way to play with Nurgle's mechanic, because I can't put a Great Unclean one in this box.
No. That was never happening.
So I wanted to use that. So it was the first thing I threw in the list, actually. Then I wanted a Beast of Nurgle because they're adorable. The sales pitch for Nurgle is like Nurglings and a Beast of Nurgle. So then I added Nurglings, as you do.
I was like, obviously, Nurglings have to be in there somewhere, even if it's just like the minimum amount.
And then I was sitting there and I'm like, can I just slap the entire Nurgle range into a box and it fits like a perfect combat patrol? And so I tried it. And I added in Plague Drones, Plague Bearers, and a Poxbringer, which is just a generic foot hero, right? It worked perfectly.
Yeah, I guess everything else would have been named characters.
Named characters or a giant great unclean one. Technically, I think we don't use named character status for Bile Piper or Scrivener. That's only AOS that makes them named.
Oh, okay.
They're not unique in 40k.
That's fine.
So I had two other options for a foot hero, technically. But I went with the Poxbringer, whatever. The point is, this worked out to exactly 480 points, which is damn near our 500 goal. And it was just really clean. It's 41% off at 286.50 for what it's worth. It was so right for such an easy win, right? Like, this is like the Nurgle range box. Would you like to play Nurgle? Probably buy like 3 of this and then go buy like 2 great unclean ones. You are now Nurgle guy at your LGS, which might not be a great title to have.
No, but like you've got the Poxbringers to lead the Plague Bearers. A little low on Nurglings for like having enough Nurglings, but
Nurglings is a classic lesson for demon players. A box of 3 Nurglings is at least 9 Nurglings. You don't put all the Nurglings on a base. You make art out of them. So realistically, they're like 6 and you can make some really cool stuff out of them, but like you can stretch it all the way to 9 if you so want. The point is you can have a lot of Nurglings.
Yeah. So like the only real question there is doubling up on the fortification.
Look, it's either you're running 0 or you like it and you're running probably like 2. Ideally, if we had more like AOS level rules for like faction train or fortifications where the Gnarl Maw wasn't eating up points in your list, it's really cool and has cool rules for Nurgle. It's just unfortunate that it eats up points in a list that could be taken by real things that like do stuff. Yes, it's probably not great to have, but whatever. I think the fortification is wrong, like math-wise, but I think it is cool enough that most people who collect demons own at least 1 if they own Nurgle, and possibly 2 or 3. I'm not overly concerned with it. I think this is just a really cool looking box though, if you like were to think of how you lay it out with like their little board they put the guys on to make it look like it's in a thematic swamp.
Yeah, no, that was actually one of the things I was thinking of as well, of like having the Gnarl Maw with the Beast of Nurgle, like from a like lay out the box art to make it super cool, and the Plague Drones just like hovering around menacingly. Yeah.
Like that's your back row, and then you've got your swarm of Nurglings and Plague Bearers up front with your Poxbringer in there somewhere. And he really doesn't stand out well against Plague Bearers, I'm not gonna lie. He's the worst part of this box.
Nah, he's just kind of like off to the side.
But like you put that up front, I think this is a cool box. I'd probably buy one if I was new.
Yeah, it doesn't seem unreasonable to do. It's actually a pretty balanced box, shockingly, just picking one of all the units. But on a disappointing note, it shows how anemic some of the...
I mean, every time I do one of these demon boxes, it shows how anemic demons are.
Yeah, it's just like a sad little... Because like, this is great. It'd be super fun pickup for Nurgle players and it'd be exciting and all that. And then you're like, then what do you do? And it's like, well, you buy 2 or 3 of these and a couple great and clean ones and you have it all. This is good though. I like it.
All right, from one chaos faction to another, walk us through Dark Angels.
Yeah, that's it, right?
I did the joke.
Yeah, so Dark Angels was interesting to try and figure out what to do, primarily because they have the Inner Circle Battleforce, and like the initial idea was, oh, let's grab the Inner Circle and it'll be great. Like, those are cool models. Let's base it off of that.
Yeah, you wanted to use Inner Circle companions as like the starting point.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have done too, to be honest.
Because like they're kind of the coolest part, as far as I'm concerned.
They are. They look gorgeous.
But it was one of those like, it's kind of already been done, and it was done at a higher price point. That thing was like $240. Like, this would just be a worse version of that, right?
Yeah, which I don't think bans it. You could have a Battleforce become a worse version and become a combat patrol at a lower price, and everyone be like, okay, you could have got the limited time amazing box, or now you can get the forever pretty good box that you still recommend to a newbie.
Yeah, if GW decided to do that, perfectly fair. But since like we're in like the theory crafting, we don't have to actually go and do it. How about we do something a little bit more interesting, maybe a bit unique? And, going through it, there isn't really like, there's, the three aspects. There's Deathwing, Ravenwing, and...
Say it, Eric. Say your favorite one.
Greenwing, yeah.
Eric was so mad before this, by the way, when he was like, what's the name of that third wing they have?
Every time. Because it's like, what the fuck?
We went with ravens and death and hardcore metal and green because we care about the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We might be metal, but we're not dicks about it.
Right. Oh my god. It's so... All right. So it was, one of those, let's try and do either Ravenwing or Deathwing. Technically, the new Grotmist detachment does a mix of both. But at a combat patrol level and how elite tier point costs Space Marine and Dark Angels are costed at, it just doesn't work at 500 points.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is the one where it's not our balanced normal start we would do. I would say this is an excuse to do multiple Dark Angel boxes, which has pros and cons, and we could get into the actual why you don't do that, because there are downsides to it. But ignoring the problem of limited shelf space and confusing new players and stuff like that, Dark Angels has the excuse they could try for multiple boxes if they really wanted to just jump on Lion.
Right, that was the thing, is Lion is a pretty big selling part. It's a big name for 40k. It would make sense.
Yeah, if they wanted to temporarily have multiple boxes for Dark Angels, this could be part of it, to go heavy into one.
So, looking through the models again, I actually quite enjoy the aesthetics of the bikes with the winged hussar paraphernalia on it. I get the bikes themselves are kind of dopey looking, right? They're not great.
We could not disagree more on this, but continue.
But I enjoy the aesthetics of that. It's enough extra tchotchkes that I'm here for it. So we're doing Ravenwing, which is honestly pretty fucking simple. There isn't that much that can be done with it. We're going to take a Ravenwing command squad, and we're going to take the Ravenwing Black Knights. These are the bikes. We're going to have a leader and the unit. Makes sense. We could probably get away with jamming a land speeder in there. Don't care about it though. So I was like, how about we just have more of the Ravenwing Black Knights, some more bikes. Eventually you're like, well, you can't just have literally all bikes.
You already have 9 bikes.
We have 9 bikes.
There's going to be 9 bikes on the cover of this that look identical.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
You need non-bikes.
You need non-bikes though. That is very true. But I also want to keep it in the same kind of thematic Ravenwing, let's go fast kind of aesthetic. So out of all of the infantry, I was I like the infiltrators. They're very cool. I think they'll go pretty well with the bike theme. I know that there were some problems of it's boxed in a easy build and it doesn't work for...
They've got 2 versions of it, yeah.
Whatever, dude. I don't care. It's fine. It's it's not that big of a deal.
If anything, it will get it through the rubber stamp easier of, you'll say, I want to add 10 infiltrators, and then someone's going to be like, we've got those easy to build ones that are worth less, but look the same on the cover.
Yeah, that works. All right, that works. And that's it. It's 9 bikes and 10 infiltrators.
It doesn't sound awful, really. I almost wonder if 3 of the bikes should be a speeder.
Probably.
Then multiples are more, actually, you might want 2 of this if you're super into Ravenwing.
I mean, I think if you're super into Ravenwing, you still want 2 of this.
That's so many of these stupid bikes. I'm so biased against this, it's hard for me to get in the mindset. I've got to alter reverse.
No, you do, because if you like these bikes, you're playing all the fucking bikes. That's just how it is. And I get not liking them, but I like them. So I can understand being yeah, I would buy 2 of these if I wanted to play Ravenwing. Definitely not more.
Since the Black Knights are the command squad, there is a minor issue with you could build it wrong type stuff. I don't know if they're actually visually different in any way. I couldn't figure it out.
No, it was confusing, and like
Old Marines are stupid.
Marines are stupid. But, you know, total together, this is like $250, which is only a 32% discount, but that's still not bad. 500 points. Like, this basically nailed like the targets.
Well, you got to remember, if you've got infiltrators in there, they're going to want to throw 2 Dark Angel upgrade sprues in there, and they'll try valuing those as something, even though they shouldn't. So
that is true. They do always put that on the tin. So yeah, again, obviously this is a very skewed box. This doesn't fit like the balanced box, but I think that was like by design. Dark Angels having their like prongs to the army, and the fact that they also just had the Inner Circle box, Battleforce, that came out. I think this time I'll make the exception.
All right, so we've got 1 army left, but it's a little confusing. Eldar has their codex coming out. It's like a month from now, probably, maybe a little more. We don't know what the combat patrol looks like. So I tasked Eric and myself to come up with 2 lists. Mine's a little bit of a meme, but I like it. I don't know if Eric's is a meme. I hope it's not the same meme.
I mean, I hope not.
But these are kind of like a wish list more than a prediction, because I highly doubt either of us are going to make something bad enough to be a combat patrol that they're going to make.
That's true.
So the current combat patrol is not bad for Aeldari. They can go a lot worse, and they probably will, because that's how a lot of these have been coming out this year.
Current one is ripped off the site, but yes.
Oh, did they already pull it down? Okay, interesting.
But yeah, it wasn't terrible.
So, Eric, what did you come up with? Please don't say it's all Harlequins.
No, it's not all Harlequins, though that is an interesting way of doing it. Very unlikely to happen. But yeah, I tried thinking of like, they teased a bunch of new stuff. One of the ones that kind of excited me was the warp spiders.
They do look cool.
And it was one of those like, okay, what if I include the refresh new models in this and like just play around with it and see what I can do. So that's where I started, was warp spiders. And they're kind of a weird unit. It's tough to like base an army around it. But I then went and fished around and got really annoyed with the fact that Aeldari is so many epic heroes, named characters that lead a unit, and that you can only be led by them. So yeah, it was like trying to figure out how to actually balance, I guess, like in 10th, where like you actually get to lead stuff but not be epic heroes, and like make it so that you can't buy additional ones. And from the warp spiders, it was like trying to figure out what do we want to do, and managed to find that the wind riders could be led by a warlock skyrunner. So picked those 2 up, and I actually think they go pretty well with the aesthetics of the warp spider to make the warp spiders look even freakier. And like with that, let's try and like actually make a more normalized list, I guess. Like let's look at like battle line and like that kind of stuff. So grabbed Guardian, either Guardian Defenders or Storm Guardians, whatever, same thing, and an Autarch to lead them. And altogether, that's probably fine on its own, but I actually really wanted to fit the Autarch Wayleaper in there.
Just not leading anything, just hanging out?
Yeah, just doing its thing.
You just think it's cool? Okay. If that's your logic, that's fine.
Well, like, it can't lead anything. It's a deep strike lone operative. They don't lead stuff.
Oh, okay. He's the assassin version. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's cool then. I'm here for that.
And like, yeah, realistically, that probably wouldn't be in the box, and it would just be kind of anemic on points. But we're not too far out of the realm. Like, we're at $290 with the caveat that warp spiders are like $54, $55 that they were previously at some point. They're probably going to be more, but we don't know about anything like that. So that's what I just estimated it at. So yeah, we're at like $290, which 42% off. It's on the higher end, but within the realm of possibility. And it's 550 points, which is pretty good for Aeldari. The like Guardians are not the most exciting, but I feel like the new warp spiders with the, Wind Riders and the Autarch, Wayleaper kind of spice it up enough that you can sell it as exciting. So that's where I went. I don't think it's really a meme. It's definitely wishful thinking, though.
Yeah, I don't think you would ever want a second of this because you have so many characters.
If it wasn't Aeldari, I would say it's not really a problem because, like, they're generic. But given that Aeldari have so many named characters, it's just so difficult to have one that you want multiple of. I don't think this is terrible, though.
I wonder if the real cut is the Autarch on foot, even though it's leading the Guardians. I wonder if you just leave the Guardians naked.
It's possible.
Because then you can keep the Wayleaper who's crazy and is jumping around with Warp Spiders who are also crazy.
That would be fair as well. It's just a little weird to have a battle line unit not be led, right? Like in a combat patrol, battle line units are supposed to be led.
If you're saying they're not really the point, and the point is the guys on bikes and the Warp Spiders,
that's true.
Then caring more about that and making that where the leader went is fine.
Yeah, it could work. Because, yeah, the Autarch and the Guardians are like, they're just there. We're really here for the Warp Spiders, the bikes, and the Wayleaper assassin guy. They're the let's be cool and weird.
All right, I see you put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, I did spend a little bit of time on it. How about you, Brad? What did you come up with? I'm imagining you spent a bunch of time and thought like big brain, right?
A huge brain. I clicked on all of the funny clowns.
The ones that are like disappearing.
Fuck you. They will resurge and replace the boring normal space elves with cool clown elves. So I went with a Harlequin one that should be sold on the side as its own intro box for Harlequin players. And Harlequins need to come back in force, and we only need like 3 or 4 more kits so that they feel like a normal anemic army.
That's true.
But this actually, it fell together, and this is like a legitimately good box. Ready?
Yeah.
So 1 box of troops, which you build the troop master out of because the character is in the troop box.
So each box actually comes with 6
dudes, one of which can be a character. A second box of troops, don't build the character or do I don't care. A Shadow Seer to act as a leader for that second unit, assuming you didn't build the character.
All right.
And then literally just 2 Sky Weavers for bikes, a Void Weaver, and a Star Weaver. And technically that's a dual build kit. You could magnetize it and, have both be both, whatever. Welcome to having cool little boats.
Those are sold like as separate things, or is it actually one that's a dual build?
No, it's just 1 box. This is a 3-box army, baby. Grey Knight special.
Yeah, it's cool, but...
Okay, so to give you some facts here, ready?
Yeah.
The way this looks on the table, you've got a troop master leading 5 troops in a Star Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a Shadow Seer giving stealth to 6 troops standing on the ground. They also get advance and charge and reroll advances.
Ooh.
You get a Void Weaver shooting at stuff, and you have a pair of Sky Weavers trolling around, throwing boluses at people, whatever. All of this comes out to 580 points, and it's only a 38% discount.
That's pretty impressive.
This makes everybody happy. This is going to, if this was made, this would be up there with Custodes and Grey Knights as the things you point people to. And I stand with, to this day, the only problem with Harlequins is using the checkerboard Harlequining pattern on their armor for the box art is a huge mistake that puts off new players.
Yeah.
When they have tons of different outfits in the codex from 8th edition that do not use that, and any of those would have been better to put on the box art so that a new player wants to do that instead.
Yeah, no, this is, honestly, it's pretty good. Obviously, a large part of it is just because, this is Harlequins. This is what you get. Interestingly, that, it would never be written out like this, because, the Void Weavers, they would be oh, this is the 1 combo box kind of thing, so you'd get 2 of those, and you'd get 2 sets of 6 troops, or something like that.
No, that is not true, because that's not how it's done on Drukhari.
Really, it isn't.
Drukhari writes out 1 Raider, 1 Ravager, even though the Ravager can be a Raider.
That's wild. I mean, it's obviously better.
The Raider can't be a Ravager, but the Ravager can be a Raider.
It's like a square and a rectangle.
A Gladiator can be an Impulsor, but an Impulsor can't be a Gladiator. That's why you buy Gladiators.
I mean, yeah, all right. It's a shockingly competent combat patrol.
I love this one.
Very simple.
It is army in a box. You would easily buy 2 of these, maybe 3. It's not like it's a big range, and you'd be happy the whole time. At worst, you've got some spare Shadow Seers, which you're going to probably do cool stuff with.
That's not that big of a deal. The pricing is wild to me. Clearly, Harlequins were just forgotten about so much that they never got the memo that prices increased.
Wait, we're not supposed to be affordable anymore, guys. We have to be a game that that costs way too much money to get into. We're trying to gatekeep here.
You gotta be rich and famous, be able to play Warhammer 40k.
You gotta be Henry Cavill, or you can't afford to play.
But yeah, there's no possible way that this is what's Combat Patrol. It would be fair as like an additional Combat Patrol.
This is Combat Patrol Harlequins.
Not Aeldari.
You put Combat Patrol Harlequins just like you have Combat Patrol, well, it says Chaos Demons, but it's Khorne.
And just like your demons would be Combat Patrol Nurgle.
Yeah, you would change it to say Combat Patrol Khorne, Combat Patrol Nurgle.
That makes sense. It's a good way to do those types of armies. It's not how they do things, sadly. Maybe.
Nope, but a man can dream. But yeah, I think this one was hit and miss. I truly despise my Deathwatch list and everything to do with Deathwatch for the foreseeable future. Everything else I pretty much liked. I back up Eric on the Crisis Battlesuit prices are insane. I think everyone who plays Tau knows that.
Yeah, like I enjoy what I put together, but the prices are just fucking wild.
But yeah, lots of fun on this one. Anger can be fun after it's over.
That's true. It becomes nostalgia.
That's why we have Dark Souls fans. All right, that does it for us this week. Please remember YouTube pleasantries. It's January, so it sucks for everyone who does this type of content. Other than that, we're streaming like literally right after we record this. So yeah, check out the streams we've done. Maybe check out if we do any more this month. We're probably doing a few more. All right, but now that it is time for the credits to roll, let's read off our patrons for the month who pay us so much. They deserve these shout outs. They are 100 Johnny,
3D Frank,
4K Fart.
A pulsating ball of pure energy.
That could have gone so much worse.
I paused because I was like, where is this going? Does this need to be censored?
Absolute Chad.
Adam Buaro.
Adoxin.
Adrian Frank.
Alex Fuja.
Amists.
Another Hairy Sasquatch.
Ballad.
Bedlam's Nemesis.
Beth Jesus.
Biggs Dog 03.
Blubbles 180.
Bolters and Banter.
Bradley Veers.
Cameron R.
Carnivex.
Christopher Gargliano.
Chroma Vale.
Chuck Mordock.
Craig Judge.
Cube 1359.
Daniel Field 5150.
Das Goopy.
Delmariv.
Devin Voiles.
Des Revis.
Dominic Colisico.
Dreth Jennifer.
Edward Lawrence.
Enchanted Galaxy Cat.
Eric Founder.
Ezavor.
Gathering Clouds.
Kytt.
Gyarados.
Happy Brontosaurus.
Haunter.
Infinite Fess.
Isaac Hall.
It's a beautiful day.
I agree.
It's actually a pretty shit day. Did you look outside? It's fucking snowing.
It's terrible out. Jack Gaming.
Jacob Gibson.
Jan Hendrik Muller.
Jarrett DePerna.
Jolene.
Calix.
Caden Moore.
Kaylee Ard.
Lucas.
Libloop Bloop.
Logan Minaj.
Lowfat Mogert.
LSJ.
Madison Ramanama.
Matthew Tsushima.
Michael Melcher.
Mitchell.
Mixolodius.
Bart Toast.
Moist Toast.
Monkey 218.
Morpheal 55.
Natalie Fortune.
Novi.
Ordo Erectus.
Pierce would like everyone to know that Brain Rot won Oxford's Word of the Year.
Patriarch Alucard.
Proteus 7331.
Quellen.
Retro Brave.
Ross Warlock.
Samuel Summerfield.
Sarah Hansen.
Siegbro.
Struggle Bus.
The Marine Who Plays Tau.
The Tired EMR.
The Crusader 13.
The Fish Boy.
Thrango.
Tom McGarth.
Vartha Mark.
Vault Guardian.
Victoria Angel.
Weebay.
Ilindi.
Woodstock.
And Why So Mad 2.
And in addition, we have producers who we love so much we shout them out every time. They are a Speedy Freak. Got my dragster back. It's nice that we got an end to that story.
Yeah. Austin Bloom.
Blitzdid Brain.
Brandon Janke.
Corvus.
Demolition Man.
Dr. Lace.
Jeffrey Bowser.
Hugh Jacksman.
Hunter Black.
Yon Geisey.
Jason McMaster.
Joel Rachels.
Kiwi Fruitbird.
Nathan Seward.
NJ Harlan.
Noel.
North.
Pizza 00100.
Rock.
Sebastian Richardson.
The Jim Crab Scott G.
The Mailman.
The fucking God Emperor of Mankind. I'm back.
TNO.
Tricky is the one.
And Wargame Simulator. Thank you all so very much. And if you too would like to support the show like all of those amazing people, you can go to patreon.com/solysingleton and you can join great patrons like Ace in supporting us there. That does it for us this week.
Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting the show. The patron list has grown quite a bit. It's awesome.
It's very fun to get to read this many names.
We only butcher most of them.
All right. Well, that does it for us this week. We're out of here.
Sounds good.